Hello. It is so good to see you, have you with me again, for us to be in this classroom of life. Welcome once again to On the Path with Cheryl Nembhard. I hope that you've been enjoying the vlogs and the talks that we've been having. My hope was just to really inspire and to get us speaking about the things that matter in this road called life. We're all in a journey. We're all in a classroom. No one has arrived. Life is a journey, not a destination. So we're learning from our mistakes, our successes, our failures. All of it makes us our better selves. And today I want to talk to you about a topic that's really close to my heart, one that I've learned many lessons from, and that is being on the path to healthy relationships. When we are in a toxic relationship, whether it be friendship, marriages, dating, families, that affects us in levels and ways that we are not even fully aware of. It affects our thinking, the way we speak, how we live, how we view the world. We can become very toxic ourselves. It is so important that we do the intentional work of either healing those toxic relationships or removing ourselves from those toxic relationships. So today, to speak about healthy relationships, I have my bestie. I'm so excited. I've got my best friend with me today, and you get to meet her and find out A, why she's so awesome, and B, why it is important for us to walk this road of healthy relationship. And you're going to hear very honestly what she has learned and what I've learned from toxic relationships. We're going in. Are you ready? Get your coffee, get whatever you need to get to relax, and let's lock in just for 20 minutes and let's talk about being on the path to healthy relationships. See you in a minute. What's going to happen in the next 20 minutes, because there may be a lot of laughter, there may be a lot of tears. This is pretty much my life when I get together with this one. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to my best friend. This is Dagmar Morgan.
Hello.
And Dags and I are gonna, have an honest conversation about something that really is close to our hearts. So Dagmar, I gotta ask you, first of all, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for asking me.
Like you had a choice. Anyways.
That's true, actually. That's true.
Dagmar, why I picked this topic of healthy relationships for you because Dagmar is a pastor at the Meeting House. She's an artist, spoken word poet. She's so incredibly gifted at communicating emotions and feelings. And she has dropped some bombs about what she's learned about relationships and past hurts. I thought that she'd be perfect for this topic. So, Dagmar, why is, when we talk about healthy relationships, and I say healthy relationships, that word, what comes to mind for you? Why is it important?
I think first of all, it's a really great question, because I don't think that we always take the time to reflect on the relationships that we are in. Relationships through family, where like that's what you get, right? You're born into a family, that's what you have. And our life relationships. And so I think that it's so great to take time to reflect on those things and actually think about what is a healthy relationship and how has that worked out in my life. Because
we're not asking that enough. We're not.
That can't really move forward in life if you are stuck in relationships that are toxic and that do not serve you. And I don't mean serve you as in just give you things or do things for you. I mean as in things that do not promote your growth.
Come on.
Things that do not promote where God wants you moving, and things that do not affirm for you what God says about you. And I think that's a really big one, is that, like, if we think about what would God say about you, he would say you're loved, you are celebrated,
you're beautiful,
right? You're lifted up, like all of these things. And we sometimes end up staying in places with people that we don't ever feel those ways.
Because they say the opposite to us over and over and over.
Yes, yes. And somehow we think we have to stay there.
Come
right?
on. Yeah.
And so the challenge, I think, really is to, there are some relationships that you can't exit. Like, you can't always exit a work relationship.
Yeah.
You can't always exit a family relationship.
Right.
But you can look at how it affects you and try to find ways to build in mechanisms, boundaries, things
Love
like that, and seek relationships that actually do give you those things that maybe you're missing in other places.
Pastor. Okay? Pastor. Pastor's heart. I love it. Teaching all the time. I love that answer. I heard a lot of things. Boundaries. Positive relationships should echo really God's plan for us, that we're full of purpose, full of potential, all these amazing, wonderful, uplifting words. And if you find yourself in a relationship that is tearing you down, you got to exit stage left, right?
Sometimes you do,
yeah. How was that for you? Tell me, like, maybe if you can share honestly, personally, how were you affected by toxic relationships? How did you move from toxic to healthy in your life? How did you make those changes?
I think for me, really, like, I had to hit kind of rock bottom in a lot of ways for me to recognize that my continual engagement in some of the relationships that I had, friendships, work relationships, jobs, things like that, that those were really stopping me from growing or becoming happy. That really, I wasn't necessarily happy in my life, and I wasn't fulfilling my God purpose, that's for darn sure, during those times. And part of it was because I was still engaging or staying in places with people that were just super toxic and unhealthy. And so until I hit rock bottom, which I really hope other people don't have to do in order to figure that out, that was sort of the point for me.
What did rock bottom look like for you? Just a couple of things.
Yeah. So I had a situation in my life where I had sort of had a lot of trauma and a lot of family trauma happen in a very short period of time. And so I really got into a position where I was just not emotionally able to handle it anymore. And so I had a bit of a nervous breakdown, and just everything fell apart, and my life exploded, and my marriage ended, and my family stopped talking to me. Like, everything exploded, and I literally was standing there with nothing. No house, no money, had lost my financial stability, had lost my relationship that I'd been in for 12 years, and really was just looking around being like, how did this happen? How did I get here? With good intention. Like, it wasn't as if I had done, I had gone about destroying it myself. Good intention, trying to do things for other people. But I was engaging in relationships in an inappropriate way in terms of my own safety and my own growth. And so because of that, it basically exploded my life at a certain point, and I had to really peel that back to the beginning and kind of start over from the ground up.
Wow. Holy smokes, so many things I want to ask you about what you just said. So very quickly, you were giving in a way that was draining you. What do you mean by that? Because I feel like many people that are watching are like, whoa, pause, that's me. I am in friendships, relationships that, forget about they're not serving me, they're draining me. So what was it you realized about those things that were depleting you?
I think when I started to look at where did this kind of all go wrong, like, where did this start, it was at the point, it was that I didn't know myself, that I didn't take the time to grow myself spiritually and myself in God, and to know what is my purpose in this world, and where am I supposed to be, who are the people who are my tribe, who are the people who are my people, you know what I mean? And who will walk through life the way that I feel that I'm supposed to, or that I'm called to. And that there were some people in my life that were, for sure. And those people are still present in my life, right? So, but that sort of process of realizing that I didn't even know who I was. I was living in people pleasing. I was living in codependency. And I was doing everything I thought I needed to do outwardly to make people love me or understand me or, you know, be family with me.
Wow.
And the problem was that I was doing it from an outward perspective and that I didn't actually really know who I was or what I really wanted to do or what I was really called to do or what God was saying to me. And so I had to really go back actually to building blocks and start all over again from the bottom up.
So toxic relationships tend to happen when there's a pattern of not knowing who you are. Because when you don't know who you are, you open yourself up to be used and abused. People overstepping their boundaries. People telling you who you are. When you can't counter that with like, no, that's not the truth. Okay, you were speaking about, this is so good, thanks. You were speaking about a relationship for 12 years, and I wanted to circle back to that, so I could qualify it, but we need to unpack that a bit more. So you were previously married. You're now in a beautiful new marriage. Okay, pause. My husband.
Oh yeah, this is the best.
So my husband's best friend married her. So we're best friends, and our husbands are best friends. Yeah,
that's right.
It's
called family.
It's a little sappy.
It's
a little
true.
diabetical.
It's true. It is. It is.
Okay, so back to reality. You're in a wonderful, healthy, happy marriage now, but it wasn't always that. You were in a pretty toxic one before. Who was Dagmar in the old relationship, and who is Dagmar now? You've obviously evolved.
I hope
like
I have.
big time.
I hope I have. But I think too that it wasn't necessarily just that that other person was toxic, but that I actually, because I didn't know who I was working from a place that was not grounded. So the things that I did were not necessarily correct. Like in some ways I was like, I had no business being in a relationship. I was not ready. I did not know myself. I did not do my personal work. I was not set up in real world ways, like maybe financially, to be like totally independent, to be like, you know, fully educated the way that I wanted to be, like all of those things. But I was rushing into things. And I always equate it to, I was making things with my own hands. And so when I'm making them with my own hands,
I love that.
And like when you're a high capacity person, you can make a lot of things happen, but it doesn't mean that they belong to you. And so I was making,
for you.
Exactly. And I was making things with my own hands and not letting God do his work because I was in a rush to get everything done. And so that's a hard lesson, right? Because sometimes you're not 23 when it all comes together for you, right?
Sometimes you're 32.
And exactly.
Or 42.
Exactly. And so that was really,
Woo. So don't let anyone put a time limit on your inner healing and all the work that you need to do.
And it's so hard because you get lost in that space of like, I'm never going to find anybody. It's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to get that education. I'm never going to get this. I'm never going to get that. Everybody else has it. And here you are waiting, and God has a promise for you. And you're like, well, God has a promise for me. Where's my promise? You know? And I understand that feeling. Because especially being somebody who was divorced in my 30s. And then trying to find another partner. So I was worried. I was like, it might not happen for me. Like I might be going it alone. And what does that mean for me as a Christian woman who believes the promises of God?
So you had to get to a place where, I see this as a pattern all the time. People looking for others to fulfill them, to complete them, to add to who they are, when really the work required is for them to become whole in themselves. And it's not until you get to that place, and I've heard this before, people have said, it wasn't until I was okay to be alone. When I finally, that things started to fall in place. When I was self-sufficient and feeling emotionally whole, that I'm like, you know what, if this is it, I'm good, boom. And I wonder what that is. You know, it's just about coming to a place where people don't see brokenness in you. I think brokenness is like a fragrance that, you know, that people who love to sort of pray, they can smell that brokenness. Yeah, and they can pray on that. Yeah, it's so important. It's so important to do the work. I love that. I've got one last question for you. This is short and sweet, eh? It's like no blood, no pain. So people have talked a lot about, friendships, and the fact that friendships are lots of work. Their ministry, their lifelong commitments, their sisterhood. Sisterhood is, I think, even bigger and broader, like deeper than friendship. And you and I have kind of like, our worlds have just crashed into each other. Like God has just brought us together, and so many people are amazed by it. So many people are amazed by our friendship.
People are quite fascinated.
Quite fascinated. Obviously, because there's a little bit of a cultural difference, if you haven't noticed. But just we've sort of come into this sisterhood and this deep friendship in our adult life, and so that's very new and different and fresh. I'm gonna put you on the spot. I don't know what you're gonna say. What have you learned about being in this friendship with me? What had to change? What did you have to fix? I'll start for me.
Sure.
I came with a lot of stuff.
Right.
I came with a lot of baggage into this friendship. I have trust issues with women. I'll own that. Lots of past hurts, lots of backstabbing and gossiping, and people saying they're for you but having these private conversations of I just was done with all of that. And I brought all of that sort of mistrust of women into the friendship. And so we had to work through that. What was did you come with anything at all?
Our personalities are very different. You are very extroverted, I'm very introverted. And so even though I seem like I'm extroverted, I still do have that kind of introvert side. And so I think we translate things very differently. So for me, a lot of it was communication and being open to understanding how you were viewing things and how I was viewing things. Being open enough to see the other person's perspective and to take that ego part out of it. Like, well, I'm right and you're wrong and this is the truth. Like, well, what is truth, right? Like, it's people's perceptions. So working through that was really big for me because I'm very much like, just see it from my perspective.
What have you learned from our friendship, or any other healthy friendship that you have in your life?
Just I think the value of it. Like, my life is so different today, and I am so different as a person because of the relationships I have. And when you find that space, when you find those people, whether it's two people, whether it's one person, but when you find that space with that person that you really, and that's why I say it's like finding your tribe, it really changes everything. You begin to move forward in your life.
Finding your tribe, what do you mean by that?
Finding the people who walk out your life the way that you do. Finding people who walk out your life the way God. Do you know what I mean? You have a God calling. They're walking out their God calling. And because when you have two people who are both walking out their God calling, there's no competition in that. Because my God calling will be unique than everybody else's. Even if somebody else is, say, a poet, right? It doesn't matter that we both do spoken word. My calling is different than their calling.
And I don't want what you want, and you don't want what I want, and it just works.
And then trying to build each other up, promote each other, help each other, and to be there, to support each other through projects and through different things, and to use what you have to give to that other person, and to do it genuinely in all areas of life, right?
I love that.
And I think that really is what it means, is that to have those people that travel with you and are behind you, waiting to fight on your behalf.
So when you find your tribe, what Dags is saying, I love this, you find your cheering squad. You find,
that's a good way to say it.
Find the greatest cheering squad ever. You find collaboration over competition. And what was the other one that you said that I loved?
And I was just gonna say, the biggest thing about finding your tribe is that you are looking for community over convenience. It's not a networking opportunity. It's not a let's meet people and
to get something.
And okay, well, let's meet and I'll give you my business card, you give me your card, and like, okay, we're friends, but like, not really. It really is being there 100% for people. And committing 100%.
I love that. It's not what can I get from this relationship, but what can I give to this relationship.
Exactly.
I love
that.
It's
a very different place to be.
Yeah.
When you are looking to give constantly and to do extra constantly, it is just a completely different place. And I think that is God in people. When you overflow with God's love, you give generously, and because it's not about keeping track of what you give and what they give back and what you did and you didn't do enough. There's no score
Oh, I love it.
It's that you
Love keeps
overflow
no
with
record.
God,
Love
like
that.
His grace.
Yeah.
We can't ever pay back the debt of His grace.
Yeah.
Right? So when
Yeah.
His love flows into us with that grace and it overflows, we can give that back to everybody else, and there's no scorecard.
So, whew, glory. I said glory, y'all. Somebody's preaching hard. Dagmar, just anything you want to say, last thoughts about being on the path to healthy relationships. What do you want to say to the folks?
I think I'd love to clarify one thing. I think that often people think that when we are talking about, you have to do your personal work to sort of sometimes see the manifestation of God's promises in your life, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's something wrong with you or that you haven't done enough to earn God's promise. Yeah. You don't earn it.
That's right.
Right? Like sometimes you could have done the work, like relationally, I was ready for a relationship 3 years ago. I didn't find another relationship for quite a time after that. So I think I just want to qualify that, because I don't want to make it sound like it seems like this is something you have to earn, but it's more of like a deepening and an opening to who you really are. Yeah, working on yourself emotionally, mentally, becoming your best person doesn't mean that the minute the clock runs out and you tap out your clock, I've done the work, where's my stuff? It doesn't work like that. Yeah. You're doing it because it's necessary for your next level. It's like the prerequisite to even be worthy of the next level of stuff. You gotta fix the holes in the basket. And sometimes what you want on your checklist is not what God has for you. That's perfect. So, and I can speak very personally to that quickly. I know we're trying to be quick with our time, but personally, I have always wanted to have a baby, and that hasn't happened for me yet. And so that might not happen for me. But I've done all the work, so I could be like, well, God's obviously not delivering on the checklist, but that's really not what it's about. It's about me accepting what God has for me, no matter what that looks like. Yeah. And so that might not be something that I have, but He's given me so much else that it might just be something that I have to accept. So I think that's a good example, just to show people I don't have it all together. I don't feel like I've gotten everything on my wish list. I love it. My prayer list. But God is still good, and God still gives you a beautiful, wonderful life, and I just really would love people to know. Special thanks to Dagmar Morgan Sinclair for all of her wisdom, for sharing on healthy relationships. It was such a joy having all of my dear friends and people that have impacted my life. She's a lighthouse in my world, and I'm sure you can see why. I want to just close off with a couple of things that really stood out in our conversation, just thoughts to leave with you. The first thing is that when you know who you are, you can then move into another and higher space of healthy relationships. Toxicity happens sometimes when we don't have a clear identity of ourselves, and we allow other people to project their stuff on us, tell us who we are, tell us what we have, what we don't have, where we're going. They overstep boundaries, but the minute you get a clear sense of self and identity, you can really begin to speak for yourself. You can give voice to your boundaries, your identity, and you can figure out what works for you and doesn't work for you. Your tribe are like spirits. These are people that have like passions and purposes, and they look at the world the same. They cheer you on. There's not a competitive bone in their body. It's collaboration over competition, and it's community over convenience. I love what she said about that. When you find your tribe, everything changes. The Bible says this: he that hath a friend must first show himself friendly. So you want healthy friendships, become healthy and whole yourself, and I hope that has touched your life in some way. So we say no to toxicity. We say no to bad and toxic friendships. We say yes to healthy relationships in our lives. I can't wait to see you as we talk and learn and journey more. I will see you on the path.